Hello and welcome back to Down the Slope. It's a slightly later episode this week. We're recording on Tuesday after a couple of last minute call offs yesterday, unfortunately. It was a quiet weekend for on the Hibs front. I'm joined by Greg and Ryan as we look ahead to this weekend's game at Celtic Park. Greg, how you doing?
Not bad, mate. You?
I'm good. Positive first day at Cheltenham. Thank you to
Not bad.
some tips that I received. So that,
Yeah.
that was a nice start to the week off. Oh, actually, well, it's Tuesday, so second day of the week off. Ryan, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm all good. And I would just like to say that I was not one of the late call offs. I'm very committed to this cause and I will remain to appear in every episode I can do.
No, that was my probably fucking definitely because I have got half a sofa in my living because the L shape part of it didn't fit in the door. Um,
Oh, shit.
Aye, so we've got half a sofa right now. So that's ongoing, shall we say?
So is Lauren on the flourish, yeah?
But we've still got the armchair, so and it reclines. So that's been I've been punted into that, and she's got half the sofa. But aye, right. What we're going to do, we're going to go straight into questions as we have done recently. We're going to answer questions on the Rangers game, but we're not going to go into too much detail in terms of us speaking about it because it has been so long. Most people will be nobody wants to hear about that now. We're going to focus more on the game to come on Saturday. But the very first question that we received was from Jeff Ashton. The manager quite rightly picked up plaudits up until the Rangers game last week, where I thought it was crying out for a 3-5-2 as the midfield was overrun. Should we be playing 4-2-3-1 or 3-5-2, or even just part of the bus as goal difference may be important the European places? Whatever the system, can't play Henderson and Yuan. Well, we maybe dive into the personnel before the formation. Henderson and Yuan is two that Jeff's highlighted. Greg, going to Celtic Park, is this a game for either of them?
Game for LAU and not a game for you and Henderson. I've not been impressed with them. I certainly wasn't impressed when against Rangers either. I think he done well against Superman away, and rightly started the next game, but his performance last week wasn't anywhere near the standards that it should be. So he doesn't deserve to take his place in the starting 11. But for me, Ellie Yuan and the form that he's on, I think over the PC, he absolutely deserves to be in the football team and the squad at the moment.
If we were to play devil's advocate, does Yuan do enough in the big games, in quotation marks, against Hearts, Celtic, Rangers?
I think we've struggled as a team though in the big games. I think it's pretty harsh to maybe put it on him. But yeah, look, he maybe has struggled in the big games, but as a collective, we have struggled in the big games. We've not been good enough against those three teams.
Ryan, what's your thoughts on Henderson and Yuan going up at Celtic Park? A game where, let's be honest, we've got to expect that we're definitely not going to dominate the ball.
No, which is why I think that Elian might be quite a good outball. If we're looking to counter-attack Celtic, maybe that's the only way that we can get at them. He's got great pace in behind. And I said last week, although he's not always in the game, he remains a threat at times and the opposition are always aware of him. So I think it would maybe benefit us to play him. As for you and Henderson, he's just so inconsistent, and that's probably the most frustrating part. But when you go to Celtic Park or Ibrox, you need somebody that's got a bit of grit and desire and determination. And I think that's probably three things that he lacks a little bit in. We all know he's got quality, but will he really go to the well for you? I don't think he would.
No, I get what you're saying. For me, I think I do, and Henderson wasn't good against Rangers. Like that's something that I think we need to be clear on. But he certainly wasn't the only one. The entire midfield was overrun. The fullbacks were left exposed. I suppose Henderson is in part guilty for that because he was out on the right hand side of the sort of front three as it was. But I do think he is. I was going to say becoming, but generally since I think it was Dundee United away came on, maybe even at half time, and it seems like anytime he's on the park, he's becoming a bit of a scapegoat. Ewan Henderson isn't the reason that we lost to Rangers. Whilst I believe that, I still don't believe it's a game that we should be playing him at Celtic Park. I don't think I believe in sort of horses for courses. Like I don't think Henderson is the type of player that you play against Celtic, Rangers, Hearts. The same way that last season we were saying that Josh Campbell is the perfect player for their games. I think Ewan Henderson is absolutely not the player for their games for the reasons that you mentioned there, Ryan. I don't want to question his heart or desire or anything like that. I just don't think in a game where Hibs aren't automatically going to have 65% of the possession that you're going to get the best out of him.
He's not that sort of player.
Yeah. In terms of Ewan, I think with Ewan, you play him, but if you're playing him at Celtic Park, it has to be through the middle. I don't think he offers the fullback behind him enough support. Celtic are obviously a machine at home. They've not lost at home in the league. They've not dropped a point at home in the league. They've only dropped 1 point since, was it September? I think they lost at St Mirren. So I don't think anyone's going there with eyes shut, knowing that we're going to be in for a difficult afternoon. And if we want to take anything from the game, we're going to have to go there, work hard, and ultimately take our chances as well, and be really decisive on the ball when it comes. So I would be worried if Ewan lined up, as sort of a left or right winger at Celtic Park, because I just think he could potentially expose the fullback really, really badly.
3-5-2 for me.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with 3-5-2, and then ultimately it would be between three players really three players for the front two positions if you went with a 3-5-2. I don't think Hoppy's done enough in the games at Livingston and against Rangers to stay in the team. So it would be potentially Ewan, Nisbet and Kukarevich should be picking two of them, would you?
I think you're only really looking at two, Ewan and Nisbet. I don't think Kukarevich is quite at a level yet, but where he's able to start games. So I think them two, Ewan and Nisbet are fun for me. Cadden sort of right wing back, maybe Fish, Egan Riley, and Hanlon.
Back. Yeah, and if either Newell or potentially if Newell or Doyle Hayes are fit, then they would come back in to the midfield.
I actually think we missed Newell. I thought we missed him against Rangers. Not to go over it all the time, but I just don't miss him.
No, I agree. I think there's a lot of people who have issue with Joe Newell, Ryan, but this is it Pine Bovril that tweets it out every week. Joe Newell's generally high in the foul and the successful tackles, etc. And that they aren't things that you should probably pride yourself on. But against Rangers, it looked like we were just scared to make a tackle at points. I felt Newell probably would have made a difference in there. I felt.
Yeah, listen, Joe Newell's got his critics, but he also has qualities that he brings to the team. And I don't think anybody could ever criticise him for his work ethic or for putting himself about. I don't necessarily think that fouling against the likes of Rangers and Celtics is necessarily a bad thing, especially when it's breaking up certain dangerous situations. His foul count's probably high because he does give away a lot of petty fouls that he doesn't need to make, but there is argument to say that Joe Newell would thrive in a game like this because of the work ethic that he has, and that you see him put himself out quite a bit.
Yeah. So are we all to cover off Jeff's question there? Are we all in agreement of 3-5-2 would probably be where we would be looking at, with Ewan through the middle, Henderson probably dropping to the bench?
Yep.
Yeah, I think just on what Greg was saying, it's really important you have somebody up front with you and that can hold the ball. The ball has to stick when it goes up there because it's going to be up there for such a limited amount of time. It can't just go straight back. So I think you need somebody like Nisbet. He's actually quite good at holding the ball up, or Kukarevich. You do need a big, strong centre forward.
When you'd be looking for balls in behind to Ewan as opposed to into feet, really, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
My last point in the Rangers game, I don't want to keep going over it, but I felt we were too nice in the Rangers game. I felt we showed them too much respect. We go 1-0 up, and there's a chance it just takes a cal in the middle of the park and nullify the attack. We don't do that. For the fourth goal, we show them far too much respect in their own box, and we stand a good 5 yards off them. Individual errors cost us. You can't have any errors at Celtic Park. You just can't. And you also need to be aggressive to a point. Don't go gung ho and be silly about it. But we'll press when it's on, and just look to win your battles.
You just don't want to make it easy for them, do you? You want to let them know that they're in for a game. It is all this stereotypical shite, but just if every player was to win their individual battle, Hibs will get something.
Yeah. But you need to.
That makes it sound so simple, but if you can just focus on getting the most, if you're the right back beating the left winger, if every player just focuses on their job, then you've got half a chance.
That's what I think we miss Newell, because he would be the boy to put the foot in. Nobody was really doing that. Jago missed a few tackles. I know he'll probably get hounded for saying he didn't have his best game and he shouldn't be up for the Ballon d'Or, but I felt like he was missing. He missed 3 or 4 tackles in the first half that he really should be making. I mean, that they're basic. He's ultimately just stood there and made it too easy, but
without
he can
going
have
in
these
Diego,
games, but I don't think it won.
Having said, I think he had his best game against Livingston, definitely his worst game against Rangers. However, again, I don't think it's necessarily fair to criticise individuals. Like the same way, I don't think it's right to criticise. I don't want, as I've said, I don't think we should be scapegoating Henderson. I certainly don't want it to come across as us scapegoating Jago. Jago good enough. Henderson was good enough. So many players weren't good enough,
Look, even a keeper, the most experienced player in the park, the captain, not good enough. All across the board, we just had off games, but we shouldn't let that derail the season.
The good momentum.
We were in good form going into that game.
And I think looking back on that game, and if you look back on last week's podcast, I think that was sort of what Harry was trying to say, that we need to show that we can kick on even if we do take bad results. And I think we obviously slagged them off for saying performance and stuff, but that performance is something that it wasn't what we expected to see. There was a nice segue from Greg there. He's not even seen these questions, but the next question came from Liam Young. Without being too negative, is Marshall vastly overrated, and should we be looking for a better goalie or to start Murray Johnson? He said MJ, and I'm like, who the fuck's he mean? Murray Johnson next season. We've probably not been all that critical of Marshall this season. Maybe at points we've avoided it when maybe we shouldn't have.
The save
good.
Percentage is a worry. Is a
Not
real
good,
worry
man.
for me.
Not good last week. Flapped at a couple of made a couple of good saves, but flapped at a couple of crosses in the lead up to halftime. He did look a little bit uncomfortable. I think he had a couple of, we've praised his distribution in the first half. There was definitely a few wayward passes out to, I think he tried to hit the middle of the park and he tried to hit the fullbacks, and on both occasions went sort of straight to the Rangers player. And then obviously the third goal happens as well, which is the reason the ball ends up at Marshall isn't his fault, because the movement in front of the back four was non-existent. Nobody wanted it. But when it does come to Marshall, you can't do that. It's that simple.
Yeah.
But I don't think Marshall's overrated. He does have his limitations, though.
I mean, he's 38-year-old?
No.
Come on. Let's not start expecting miracles.
Do we need that?
I know that we haven't highly sung his praises here on this podcast, so we don't rate him or overrate him. So I think from the 5 of us, we've been pretty sceptical about what he offers to the team and what he brings as a player. Overrated's a big tag. I think he's an alright goalie, nothing more, nothing less.
I don't think we need Murray Johnson as a backup, though. For me, he should be pushing for a place in the first team and starting. Maybe the next couple of seasons it's one of them, because he has a very good
goalie. You see him even against Dortmund, the first goal Easter Road that Dortmund scored in the lead up to the penalty, there was definitely question marks over him. I don't want he's what, 18? Like, I can't really comment. I've not seen any of the really, other than that Dortmund game. Do we think Murray Johnson is ready, or would he be better served? So we've seen him go on loan to Airdrie on 2 or 3 occasions this season, and by all accounts done well. Would he be better served by at least initially the first 6 months of next season on loan at maybe a championship club, and we sign a goalkeeper that's capable of playing, even if it's a 1-year deal, you know what I mean? And then you assess in January, you assess next summer.
Yeah, because I don't think he's there. I don't think he should be a backup. In my opinion, I think he's quite at that level where he's good, needs to go out and play games. For the next 2 seasons, he'll be number 1, I think, if he's still at the football club. Yeah. Obviously, we know that he's been on trial down south and at different clubs, but he shouldn't really be a backup, if I'm honest. He should be out there and getting games. Preferably play at the championship level. I think he's had a few games in League One. He seems to have done very well. Test himself in the championship, I don't think Kevin Dubrovski's going to be getting a new deal, so
no, he's away.
He is the he is the natural successor to the number one jersey, but yeah, I think he would benefit from getting games, certainly.
Do we think what do we need to see from Marshall maybe between do you know if the season ended right now, if the window was open tomorrow, would we be comfortable with potentially in a Ryan Schofield situation, right? So you've got Marshall in goals, you bring a goalkeeper in for however long, and you loan out Murray Johnson. Or would we be wanting someone that could put more pressure on Marshall?
One of them. You've got Tom Carter there. I know that from people I know that he's not good at all. So, yeah, I just think that, I don't know, because you don't just want to bring somebody in for the sake of it, just to sit there and...
It's a difficult one when you've got a goalkeeper that's so at one end of their career, and then you've got this really, really hot prospect goalkeeper that we're all genuinely believe is number one, but we don't think he's going to be number one next season. So, like, do you commit to signing a goalkeeper on a 2 or 3 year deal, but then that stunts Murray Johnson, or do you just sign a stopgap? It's actually quite a difficult. Goalkeeper feels different from any other position as well, doesn't it? Because it is probably
there's only one.
Aye, and it's got the most
scrutiny.
Aye, like because.
Do you know what the easy situation would be? Just to offer Dabrowski another year's contract, send Murray Johnson out on loan, and then have Marshall for another year. But
do you actually think Dabrowski's good enough to play in the top flight, though?
No.
As a backup, though, I'm saying if you're going to play Marshall another year, you have Dabrowski on the bench because he's played a few games, and then Murray Johnson goes out and gets his development. You know, there is absolutely no substitute for game time. That's how you develop properly as a player. That's what he needs.
But then Dabrowski's not going to sign that deal, is he? And
no, and that's the issue.
I think that's pretty clear in the announcement that there's definitely nothing forthcoming there.
It would just save you a fee on bringing somebody else in. However, that's hypothetical.
Right. So Liam, I hope we answered your question. I think we absolutely didn't, but definitely provoked some discussion. Jaden, how can you be 2-1 down at home at half time at home? Changes. I gave Johnson his days, but he got it very wrong on Wednesday. Look. Being 2-1 down doesn't always mean you have to make changes. But I think it was clear to everyone in the stadium Hibs had to make changes at half-time. I think the changes that he was trying to make it 3-1 ultimately happened at 4-1 were probably, give or take, the right changes to be made. I thought it was pretty obvious we needed to shore things up a little bit. For me, it was definitely a 3-5-2 that was needed at half-time, because we were getting overrun so easily in the middle of the park. Hoppe wasn't providing the outball that we needed him to. We've spoke about the threat that Yuan can give in behind. I would have, I was really, really surprised that we didn't make a change. And Greg, we've spoke about Johnson's at times too quick to make changes early in the season. Then there was a period of time when he just wasn't making changes.
Yeah,
he just took too long last week, I find, didn't
he? Yeah, he let himself down. But I didn't listen to his press conference after the game, but I think I put in the chat one of the ones that you just apologise and move on, and there's really nothing else really to be said. He probably knows himself that he should have made changes earlier. He's not an idiot, but he definitely should have made them at half time just to sort of change the pace of the game and almost take the sting out of the game a wee bit.
Because there's absolutely no guarantee that he makes the changes that most people would, I'd imagine, agree with. Everyone was looking at this. It's Kukarevich is to come on. There's no guarantee to say that would have made any difference. Because whilst we've been critical of Hibs, I thought Rangers were a lot better than what I expected them to be. I was pretty impressed with Rangers after last week. I think I think that's the midfield that everyone expected them to play in the League Cup final, and the manager was massively criticised for not. That their midfield I thought was pretty good. The two new boys, is it Cantwell and Raskin?
I actually thought Cantwell was good. I've never really rated Cantwell that highly. Thought he was a bit of a show pony, going nowhere at Norwich, and thought, oh well, this will be another sort of maybe even Joey Barton type signing. But I just thought he was pretty good.
Aye, he's
Last
no
Wednesday,
just a
but
luxury player.
again, you've not got close enough to him, and
Yes.
you've not hit him, so
Yeah,
quite allowed him to play.
so I think we would all agree that the changes definitely should have came at half time.
Yeah.
Next question is from Elaine, your lovely mother. Picking up any points at Celtic Park is going to be very difficult indeed. What do we need to do in terms of team and tactics to get anything from this match? Anything in your head that we haven't already spoke about for going into Saturday?
No, because I think teams have gone there and tried to play different ways and ultimately ended up with the same result. It's really difficult. You just need to hope that you catch them on an off day.
Aye,
Just
they're
try and be aggressive. You know, try and break the game up. Don't let them get into a rhythm. Be annoying. Be really annoying.
What do you
Don't be
think Lee
nice.
Johnson will have learned from the game itself? Well, look, he's played Celtic twice now. We've got an aggregate score of 10-1.
Yeah.
We're still quite open. I thought Easter Road at the game at Christmas time. That was a really strange game, the one at Christmas. But what do you think he'll learn from going to Celtic Park last time, where we ultimately tried to go blow for blow with them?
Yeah. I hope he's learnt his lesson, because you actually can't go blow for blow with Celtic. You just want to come off second best.
The pitch is huge. They make the pitch so wide. Like, do you know what? I'm loath.
You just need to sort of try and stay in the game as long as you can. Just be in the game as long as you can. Hold in there. Break up the play. Stop their rhythm. And you just need to hope that you get something, because they are unbelievable at times.
I watched Open Goal last week before the midweek games. It's the first time I've watched in a long time, and obviously Halliday was on, and they were about to play Celtic twice in 3 games, and I thought he made a really valid point which is unlike him. You can't win the game in the first half against Old Firm, but you can absolutely lose it.
You can.
And at Celtic Park in October, we did.
Yeah.
I think what we've seen is, again, Celtic are a lot different animal to what Rangers were in December, but the team is capable of playing on that sort of counter, of being defensively resolute, because we've seen it for 45 minutes at Ibrox. And
you also need to be brave in possession as well. You know, if the ball's there to be carried, go carry it 10, 15 yards. Get us up the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just be brave and hope that it goes your way. But they are very good, and I don't think there's a blueprint on how to beat them, because they play so fluid. And I mean, Hattati in the Park's a disgrace.
Yeah.
Jota, Haksabanovic, Abada, like Maida, Kyogo. So many goals.
And then you get John Hartson saying that it's the rest of the league.
John Hartson's an absolute cheese quaver who's got zero clue about football.
It is Celtic's strength and depth, and Rangers' strength and depth as well. I think they made 5 subs at once last week. Like, I don't know if I do or don't believe that the gap is any bigger now than it ever has been. I think people are forgetting how big the gap was historically, because Rangers were shite for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
The gap was never as big because Rangers almost filled the gap between, at the time, Celtic and then third place. You know what I mean? Like, Rangers were maybe 15 points off Celtic. The next team were 15 points off Rangers. Rangers have just caught up to where they're going to be with the money that they can spend. Like,
you can't compete with it.
You
just can't.
Then you get the old Firm fans, and they just go, well, spend money. Stop being poor. Stop being poor. Like, but then when they get pumped 6-1 by PSG in the Champions League, it's an unfair playing field.
Yeah.
How do you expect to compete? Anyway, that's all been doing the rounds, Ryan, since Hartson's comments after the Celtic Hearts game at the weekend. What do you make on just that gap between the Old Firm and the rest of us now?
I think it's inevitable, obviously, because of the financial disparity. I think the league should be bigger, because take Hearts, for instance. They'll have played Celtic 4 times, 5 times by the time the season's finished. if Celtic are consistently taking points off Hearts, that is going to enlarge the gap because you're playing the same team so many times. It's at the top. You have 18 teams, you play each other twice. The same teams aren't going to be taking points off of the Hearts, for instance, every week. So it gives them a kind of a chance to catch up on the top
In
two.
theory, right, so if you're saying you extend the league to 16, Hibs are going to beat the 15th and 16th team the same
Well,
point.
you would hope so. You would hope so. I mean, Celtic are still going to beat those teams as well, but they're not beating you and taking points off you and making that gap bigger.
Yeah, no,
that's just my opinion. I think it floated about a few years ago about extending it. It got knocked back, but for me personally, it'd be good. I love away days. It'd be good to get to a few more stadiums as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
Without getting too political as well, the TV deal we get is shite. That doesn't help. The TV deal we get is absolute pish. So that doesn't help the money going round the football clubs. And look, this isn't just, this is probably more of an up the slope discussion now, but I just think that the TV deal is an absolute abomination to Scottish football, and it's incredibly disrespectful at how low that Sky rate us in terms of a brand of football. So
yeah, we did do a full episode on an older second series that we were going to start, but we never really got off the state of the game, when we were joined by Old Firm Facts. So if you haven't listened to that and you are interested in getting our full thoughts on not so much the gap between Celtic and Rangers, but some things that could potentially improve the league overall, then that is there. You shouldn't have to scroll too far. I think it was about October, November time, I think. Was it, Greg? Does that sound about right?
I think so, yeah.
Right, next question. Richard. Might get shot down for this, but would you agree Ewan shouldn't start at Parkhead? We're on to hide him with how he tracks back against Old Firm, who have players that hurt us more. Jeff, who asked us our original question, he replied, depends where he plays through the middle in a 2 with Nisbet, he'd be fine. Wide left or wide right in a 4-2-3-1 with Hendel would be suicidal. Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Jeff, you're spot on, my man. You're spot
well
on.
Done, Jeff. Another great shout.
Good lad. I like Jeff.
I don't mind Jeff.
Don't mind it.
Don't mind it.
Just while we've been, because I've seen the questions that come in, a couple more questions. They're all fairly similar to what we've talked about. If we are going to go 3-5-2 though, right? If Joe Newell or Jake Doyle-Hayes aren't fit, do we even have the options in the middle of the park to play that? You'd potentially need to look at Egan, Riley, Campbell, Jago in the middle, and bring in Devlin in from the cold to start, or Stevenson at left centre half and Chabraya at left wing back. Because I think there is a very real possibility that Newell and Jake Doyle-Hayes aren't fit, because they weren't even on the bench last week. So, and McGuinness as well, obviously he wasn't on the bench either. So for me, if we've gave Devlin a contract, there was no urge, there was no rush to do that. Surely, that would say to me he is fit. So if one of the midfielders isn't available to play in a 3-5-2, I'd play Devlin. But I certainly wouldn't.
You're only going to find out what he's got to offer by playing football. Like, until he plays games, he's an unknown quantity in terms of how fit he is, his ability. Obviously, he's been good previously in Scotland, but he's had so many injuries. So,
yeah. Would you be more comfortable with Devlin in a back three, or Stevenson in the back three with Chabraya at left wing back?
Play Devlin. I wouldn't want Chabraya. He's just it breaks my heart watching the lad now. They just look so fucking short of confidence. It's unbelievable. He just looks a shadow of the player he was at the start of the season. But yeah.
What about you, Ryan?
I'd be lying if I said I knew anything about Devlin at this point. It's been a long time since I've seen him play at Hamilton. It could be a baptism of fire for the lad. Sometimes when you're flung into the deep end, it's better off in it than being eased in. But
it's not like he's a youngster. He's been cat for
no,
yeah.
No, of course. I just he's not played for a while, but yeah. I'm not against it. I'm not opposed to it. I just don't want to commit to it because I've not seen him play. for
Is
a
it
long
almost
time.
that we're saying that Devlin is the preference because it's like we've seen
That's his position.
and we've seen the limitations of the other options. Obviously, we're hoping because for what it's worth, if Joe Newell is fit, he starts, and Egan Riley goes to to the back three. I think that's pretty much a given as far as I'm concerned.
I think also that you're always tempted by the unknown. So because Declan's not played yet, we're kind of like, oh, it's new and shiny, man. Let's do it.
Exactly,
You're
absolutely right. You are absolutely correct. Next question came from Junior. Do we think 3-5-2 this weekend with Nisbet and Mykola, if they're fit, could cause problems, or does it even matter what we play at Celtic because they're that good? Look, we've spoken about 3-5-2.
I mean, it does matter.
Of course, it matters, and you've got to try and look. Our attitude should not be the same as what the attitude is in the dressing room at East Mains. I'd like to think, and then in the away dressing room come 3:00 on Saturday. Interesting one though. Obviously, he's went for Nisbet and Kukarevich there, Ryan. Greg earlier said he'd be looking at Yuan over Kukarevich still for his sort of threat behind. Would there be any argument to get Kukarevich in as well?
Nah, for me, if you're playing somebody that's big and strong and can come deep and hold the ball up, you need the second option to do the opposite of what he can do. So Yuan would be the one that stretches, makes diagonal runs, gets in behind. Good, he's good direct one-on-one. So I think you need to have that unpredictability when you're playing two up front. You can't have two players that are really similar. So it's Yuan and another for me. It's not a case of Nisbet and Kukarevich.
We've all assumed that Nisbet.
That's not a slight on either of the players.
We've all assumed that it'll be Nisbet. Nisbet was his worst game since he came back was Celtic at home. He was really.
He missed a few chances.
He wasn't great in that game. I mean, nothing really stuck, and obviously it was very quick coming back when it was in the second or third game. But that's absolutely not a criticism, but also it was the Celtic centre back that put him out for that long as well. So
that's very true.
Would I be surprised if Kukarevich and Yuan were the front two of the weekend? Absolutely not.
The reason I said Nisbet was purely because he's played more games recently. And I think that I don't know what Kukarevich's fitness is like, but he's not played in a while.
Yeah, other than that the two cameos. Whereas Nisbet obviously had that period of coming back and then obviously suffered the setback at County. Yeah, but look, they're three good players. And they are three capable players, and they're three capable players causing any team problems. And I would love to see them all on the pitch when things are going well. I think we've seen it briefly at Livingston, maybe even seen it briefly against Rangers, but I would like to see it from the off against a team. But ultimately, Celtic is not the place to do it. And that's unfortunate. As he sort of suggested at the end of his question. Next question came from Kevin Wilson. It was, if you could make one realistic signing from each Premiership club except Hearts, who would they be? Maybe it's better for an Up the Slope episode. Well, it absolutely is, and we're going to do that, and that should be out on Thursday evening. So there'll be a second helping of Down the Slope this week. I think it's myself and Liam that'll be running through that, and I'd imagine we probably will do a Hearts player as well. I'd imagine we'll take one player from the other 11 teams and what we would add to the Hibs squad and why. Little bit different question here from Connell. He's got two questions. So, who's your favourite Hibs player that would have made less than 5 appearances for the club? Obviously, I don't want you to have to Google anything. So if you can think of anyone that you're thinking will be in and around that 5 mark, so even if it's under 10, then we'll give you a pass. Who springs to mind, Greg? Because I seen you grab your phone there. So who you said?
I'm just making sure that he played less than 5 games. But it was Torben Jean-Alate, who we signed from Monaco. He played 2 games. Yeah, I thought this boy's a player. German under 21. Played with Monaco. I thought, here we go. I think he came on against Greta in one of the games. I think we were 2-0 down at half time and came back to win 4-2. But yeah, I was excited for him, and he played 2 games of football for us. So good stuff.
Ryan?
Jonathan Spector. What a pedigree, What a pedigree, man. Been there and done it all,
I'll go for Facel Riera.
Oh, nice. Hey.
Yeah, he was what a player.
I'm trying to think of players that we did. You get fit into that? No, would he?
I think he played about 20 games or something, did he not, Greg?
Nah, he didn't play as many as that, Ryan. Did he not play about 6 games and scored like
Is he not
5
double
goals or
figures?
something?
No,
Nah,
I don't
I
even know
don't
if
think
it would
so.
be. I think we signed him on a month.
Sorry, he played 5 games and scored 4 goals. What a player.
We signed him on a month contract, I'm sure, and then he went and signed for Celtic.
Signed him from Raith Rovers, aye.
Another one like that. Another one like that was probably Chris Cummins. I thought, what is he doing in the Championship?
Aye.
And then he obviously scored that free kick at Falkirk. Oh my God! And then he scored. He scored away at Dumbarton as well.
He was quite heavy, shall we say?
He was chubby, eh? He was trying to get fitness back, was he not? Fair injury. Yeah. But what a player, man! On his day.
To be fair, his technique was incredible, but he didn't really run.
Any events today, so see if we'd kept Commons, then we would never have been able to bring in Effie Ambrose, because Commons was an emergency loan for Celtic. So I don't think you'd have then, had we extended that, I don't think you'd have been able to bring in Ambrose later in that, like the February.
Well, another great player.
Oh, unreal.
We've had some really strange players, like people like Neil Erdley in that. I think Neil Erdley played like 1 game. Came on at Dundee United away.
Just just a Shane Commons is such a shite pundit, eh?
Horrific.
Comes out with some amount of shite.
To be fair, we say he was chubby. He's always really been chubby, but he was actually very good.
No,
the free kick at Falkirk, that was just hit. That was just absolutely hit.
And that stayed hit as
still
well.
Going. It's still going.
Was it a 1-0 win or 2-1?
Yeah. I think it was 1-0. It was Hogmanay. Hogmanay.
Right, second question for Connell. I don't actually think any of us are in a position to answer this. Where do Hibs fans drink before Parkhead? Because I've not been for 4 years. Anytime I've been to Celtic Park, I've taken the car.
Saracen's Head or the Squirrel.
There you go. And if there's any alternate options out there, message Connell.
Really, you want to go to the Barrows before the game, and the Saracen Head is just down the road for the Barrowlands, and the Squirrel is behind it, I'm sure.
It's easy enough to get.
Boozer, like.
It's easy enough
to
get
from
City as well, isn't it? It's easy enough to get from part of the city, so you can pretty much go wherever the hell you want and get out near bother.
You been to Brazenhead?
Yes. Also a good boozer.
Up the Rebs. All I'm going to say. Next question.
Absolute hooligan, this boy,
yeah. Right. Michael McCurdy, what's the thoughts on Henderson? Michael, I hope we've covered that already. But in my opinion, he's had a few average displays against the weaker teams, which looked great compared to the poor ones previously. No one was good on Wednesday, but thought he looked totally disinterested, barring free for a goal. Missing in big games too often for me. Yeah. Aye. Yeah.
We've covered it. Look, I think against St Mirren, I don't think he looked average because he came on and he almost changed the game. He set up the winning goal. I don't think you can class that as average. But I think in other games he's flattered to deceive. I had really high hopes for the laddie, to be honest. I really did.
One of them as well. Like, he should have an assist against Livingston if he finished. Like he does. He wins the ball back twice and plays it through. Like,
I'm not really having him either, to be honest.
There's games for Henderson. There'll be games for him.
There's absolutely no doubt in his technical attributes. You know, he's got a good first touch. He's got good vision, good range of passing. It's more the kind of mentality side of things for Henderson. I think it's not about the size of him, because everybody says he's quite small and frail looking. It's more the desire, the willingness to get stuck in. And as I said earlier, you want your players to go to the well for you.
I think he's shot of confidence as well, because at the start of the season he was picking up bookings left, right, and centre. He certainly was.
Absolutely. That comes from your mentality, like being strong enough to get through those tougher periods in your.
I think we can all agree that we've had times in football where my head's totally gone and you don't even want the thing. So I think he needs a run of games where he can actually pick his confidence up. I think after Celtic we've got a decent run where we should be winning games. So I think he should be featuring there. Even just to let him build his confidence back up.
Some of the criticism has been over the top.
I mean, it's been absolutely horrific.
I like the laddie. I just want to state, in case we get slagged again, I like the laddie, and I think he's got all the attributes to be a very good football player.
He does miss. He needs that little bit of aggression, I would say. But I tell you what, he was no worse than than
Anyone else?
players like Hoppy, really bad. Gave the ball every time he got it, just about. So,
Right.
you know.
Last question, John McIntosh. A little bit different than normal. Instead of what you're having for dinner, what's your ideal dinner?
A tough one.
Jesus Christ.
Well, we're just going to go main. We're just going to go main. We're not going to do a free fairly.
Yeah.
I just had my ideal dinner. We create your own pizza number for Asda.
Oh, you fucker. I was going to say it sounds really basic, but I would just eat pizza every
Mate,
single night of the
pizza
weekend.
mate, that's the thing, like pizza all day for me. Like,
Do you know the thing with pizza, right? Is you can interchange the toppings, man. So you could have pizza every day for the rest of your life. You could taste something different on it every single time.
Right, so many different bases as well.
Options, man.
No, enough. Don't you dare. Barbecue-based pizza.
No, I meant like the actual base. Like you could have a thin and crispy. You could have a wee stone baked.
That's okay. I actually thought barbecue-based pizza deserves the bin.
I don't want to
eat it.
I don't want
should
to
be in jail.
throw anyone under the bus here, but Ryan's prone to a little barbecue pizza.
Yeah,
Not the base, but barbecue chicken or whatever.
Oh, right.
Tomato base, would you? Yeah, no, like barbecue chicken.
Not even barbecue chicken, mate. You're not even getting that.
Well, but Greg, what about Glenn that we used to work with? Used to get a half and half.
That's really bad. Really bad.
And half Domino's is fine, right? But no, when you're getting a half tomato base and a half barbecue sauce base. Oh,
not good enough.
That's
but yeah, I'm not having barbecue.
Right, well, hit us with your dinner then.
At all.
Aye, what's your ideal dinner?
I absolutely love pasta with chicken, chorizo, peppers, mushrooms, and a wee mascarpone sauce with a couple of bits of garlic bread on the side. Unbelievable.
What's your preferred pasta type?
No penny anyway. Penny's basic.
I quite like tagliatelle. That's the tagliatelle is the kind of thick spaghetti, isn't it? That's how I would.
I'm probably mad with this, and apologies to all Italians, but fusilli, I quite like that one.
Is that the spirals?
Yeah.
Right.
They're so easy to pick up. Easy days.
We had Penny last night.
Nando's pasta. I also enjoy a bit of Nando's pasta, but Elaine can't handle the medium sauce, so I only really get that when she's away.
See, since Harry's not here, I'll answer that one for him. So, John, Harry's favourite dinner is chicken and broccoli.
Chicken, broccoli, boiled tatties.
And he thoroughly enjoys that. So there you go.
No seasoning on the chicken, no butter on the boiled tatties, and no even any salt in the water when he boils the broccoli.
I don't know if he even boils the broccoli. I think he just eats it crunchy.
Either that or whatever's under the juice section of Waitrose when he goes in.
Yeah,
Waitrose.
Harry's let himself down with dinners, like he really does.
Fucking hell.
Otherwise,
and he goes to Waitrose as well. Like,
I actually don't know if he does go to Waitrose. I can't even mind.
Nah, he defo does. Like, he looks like a type.
Oh dear. Right. Well, I don't know how long this has been. Probably definitely under the hour mark. But like I said, there'll be a second portion down the slope this week. It'll be up the slope. That should be out on Thursday evening. If not, it'll be Friday. But it should definitely be with you Thursday night. It'll be myself and Liam. We'll be looking at one player that we would take in the Hibs squad from each squad in the league, and I'm sure there'll be some discussion around what and why. So yeah, cheers, lads. That was rather enjoyable, given that Hibs weren't playing at the weekend and the last result was a scudding. So I hope we made it not too bad listening for you. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.